So it's currently about 2.5 trillion. If I look at all the other asset classes around the world, equities, bonds, real estate, they're all between 250 and 350 trillion. If I look at the total derivative market, it's 1 quadrillion. I think there's a reasonable chance of this being a $250 trillion asset class, which is 100x from here, which would be the largest growth of any asset class in all history in the shortest period of time. That will pretty much dovetail in with the idea that 3.5 billion people are using it by, that's just extrapolating the growth numbers of the network. So if 3.5 billion users in 2030, well, the market cap's going to be something like 250 trillion. Yeah, it all kind of backs out pretty straightforward just using network adoption models.
When regulations come, do you believe the market will crash? And if yes, do you think there will be a fast recovery or will be a slow recovery?
I think we probably, because of the new entrants into the market, the downside will be less big in the major cryptos. It'll still be huge in the more risky stuff. And I don't know the format of where we go, whether we keep going that log trend and we keep hitting the bottom of it in a sharp sell-off like we did this year, down 50%, then back up again, or whether we do a down 50, down 40 and trend sideways for a year. I think we'll see both of those types of price actions. So, but I don't think we get the down 80, 90. I don't think that's applicable in the market as deep as this now.
Everyone talks about these Ethereum is going to flip, Bitcoin in market cap. What's your take on that? I mean, you think it's going to happen or?
Yeah, but who cares?
They're flipping it.
I mean, who cares, right? They're two different things.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So they're two different things. I think the application growth of the network of Ethereum is currently miles larger than Bitcoin, and therefore ETH is still undervalued versus Bitcoin. But ETH will lose market share to others. And it's the whole space will go up 100x, and nobody should care what's the largest thing here. It's the whole space we're interested in. Ethereum is a richer, deeper environment with more participants in the network. So it's going to be slightly more resilient at this point. Exactly. And that's okay. And again, people take this flippening as like, oh, well, Ethereum's now a better cryptocurrency than Bitcoin. None of us think in those terms. It's just, it's like comparing Apple and Amazon. They're just different businesses. I think Bitcoin should focus on one thing, and that should be flippening gold. If that's the narrative for Bitcoin,
that's the real flippening, right?
That's the real flippening, when Bitcoin is perceived to be a more valuable asset than gold. And that's not a million miles away. But once you've got central bank digital currencies, the fiat system will be fast. Why you use the fiat system is because that's where you pay your taxes and pay for many of the regular goods and services. So it's like the fact that if you want to be in NFT world, you generally have to use ETH. It's people really overcomplicate it. It's the social token of Brazil. You've got your currency, and that's what you have to use if you want to operate within Brazil. Now, we're going into an interoperable world, so you can buy stuff with ETH within Brazil if you wanted to, but your general larger interactions are with the domestic currency. It's no different in this whole Web3 world. There's just more currencies.
Right.
You get a choice. Now, that does incentivize governments to treat their currencies better.
Do you think that finally USA will have the spot ETF in 2022?
I don't see why not, but who the hell knows, right? These regulators are crazy. How can you possibly say you're trying to look after consumers and then you put them into a futures contract? Right? If you think about this, right? If the average investor in the US went to buy the Bitcoin futures contract, they would not be allowed, because you need to understand the risks you're taking. But you put that into an ETF and suddenly you can do it because, you can't take the leverage. But it's not just about leverage. It's because futures contracts are not necessarily tied to the underlying at all times. So we're already seeing a massive underperformance of the Bitcoin futures ETF. So you're screwing over consumers because you think you're saving them. Now, a spot vehicle with no leverage is clearly a better vehicle once you've got the right custody mechanism in place. That's it. It's crazy. I don't buy that. And I don't buy it because they regulate the derivative markets. And they're immensely complicated. And the credit markets and all of this stuff, they just don't want to do it because they see it as a threat. And they've got a bunch of banks and intermediaries telling them, we don't want this.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, if you do the futures contract, you're actually spreading money around to the whole industry, because the banks can arbitrage it, the hedge funds arbitrage it. You've got futures clearing agents, settlement, all of this stuff is money back to the incumbents. I don't see why nation states will necessarily accept that everybody's a sovereign, free, digital individual, because guess what? You've got roads, hospitals, blah, blah, blah. Governments want taxes to provide services to people. That's what they do. So if you don't like it, you have to leave. Now, it's not easy. Go with your Brazilian passport, try and turn up in the Cayman Islands. It's not easy to do, or go to the United States. So, but you can. And I think governments just care about the tax. And yes, the power of controlling money is important, because we've talked about that. In complex adaptive societies, money is the organizing principle to get everybody to do stuff. It's the incentive. So now we're creating these different forms of money on these other digital sovereign states. They're going to coexist, and they're going to have to learn how to coexist. One is your physical state, and the other is where you live in the metaverse. So you pay taxes in the metaverse too, whether it's ETH gas fees or whatever it is. You still pay taxes. You know, this utopian idea of there's no taxes, are all free, it's bullshit. Everything has a cost in life, and that's real. And so some digital sovereign states like Solana is a cheaper tax system than the Ethereum sovereign state. You know, they're all the same. People apply a lot of kind of fancy principles, but these are all the same. And it's the same with taxes in the UK versus the Cayman Islands. You know, the UK has higher taxes, the Cayman Islands has no direct taxes. So, you know, I think it's a lot of that. I think governments just want to make sure that they get their fair share, particularly if you're working in the digital world, right? Before labor, it was hard to move labor. You know, you work in a factory in Brazil, then you had to find a job in a factory in Argentina. You need to learn Spanish. You know, that's hard. In this world, none of that exists. You can continue doing whatever digital stuff you do from
wherever
anywhere,
you are. Yeah.
from wherever you are. It's amazing. I also like the idea is maybe countries adopt taxation systems that are different over time that's more applicable. So the taxation system here in the Cayman Islands is there's no capital gains tax, no inheritance tax, no property tax, no income tax, nothing.
So that's why you live there.
Well, no, because you actually pay it on import duty. So everything's bloody expensive, and work permits and stamp duty on housing, and setting up business licenses. Mm-hmm. So they get the fees in different ways, but what it means is they don't have to go chasing you around for every single transaction, which is so expensive. It's like, well, you buy something, you pay your tax. There's no way around it. So they get perfect tax collection, essentially.
Got it.
We get a relatively lower rate, and it encourages entrepreneurship.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3,000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar, and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really, really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.